real. Pull on, I fuck my little and I'll make her say, she come down fine. You some trouble fire. You some smoke, pull back. You been tell me, sir. I come down, hit the house, come the door, hit the clothes. Put my tank, hold that wire. You tripping now. You slow. She come down fine.